Good evening. Welcome to day 2 of Dan Kau Merantau Lagi. And you wonder once again, a symposium organized in conjunction with the Latif Muhyiddin Pago Pago exhibition that is currently ongoing at the National Gallery, Singapore until the 27th of September. My name is TAMARES GOH, and I'm part of the Curatorial Programmes team who has collectively put together this program alongside with the curators of this exhibition. 2 weeks ago, artists Bani Hakel and Ong Kin Pin led audiences through the latest collaboration, Kampung Tegalam, as they spoke about the ideas and processes behind this 360 virtual world that unravels the multiple layers of the historical neighborhood in Singapore. Provoked by Latif Muhyiddin's map of Kampung Glam. Just yesterday, we saw Kalau Kau Mahu, or also titled, If You Will, a documentary directed by Maureen Ten and scripted by Ismail Zain. Titled after a poem that Latif Muhyiddin authored in 1969, this film features the artist as a solitary wanderer who communes with the natural world in pursuit of his art and poetry. In the past couple of sessions, we had the honor of having 4 profound individuals, Gunawan Muhammad, Dana Pucci, Terence Ward, and Alan Ambliffe, in a series of robust discussions with senior curator Shabir Hussein Mustafa, as the speakers unpack the perennial figure of the wanderer in Asian philosophical and historical dimensions, and also in the art canon and subsequently other ecologies as well. The discussions are illuminating and also complicated, and we hope they will be more complicated than straightforward, to augment and to enter into the spirit of Pago Pago. The term Pago Pago was first coined by Latif Muhyiddin to capture that which emerged through his travels in the 60s. In parallel, in the 60s, was the period where Butoh, also called the dance of darkness, would emerge from Japan. This would be the source of propulsion for the next work. Like all dance called for, it looks at the body, except that Butoh looks at the body in greater scrutiny and in severe harshness. The founder, Tatsumi Hijikata, subverted orthodox notions of dance. There was an emphasis on decay, deprecation, and darkness. Hijikata explored the transmutation of the human body into other forms, such as those of animals. The artists who we are presenting next will also allude to the transformation and the transmutation of the human body into other forms and dimensions, through other forms and vice versa, other forms mapping onto the human body. We are now into the second day of the symposium, but it matters less to the next speaker, artist Choy Ka Fai, that this is the second day of the symposium. More than that, it is that today, according to the lunar calendar, is the last day of the Hungry Ghost Festival. It is an incentive for the artist that this is timely. We speak about this with the perspective that for many traditional arts, the primary pursuit is performing for the immortal beings, or the divine as you would call it. Thus, this piece of work is shown with various audiences in mind, including the ephemerals and the future ones. We take the opportunity to visit the traditions, to pay any offerings to other beings, first and foremost, sentience or non-sentience, as supremacy. It is also to acknowledge that human beings are plagued with its own limitations, and to surrender is also a kind of wandering. In this time and age with the pandemic, with many things pending and unknown, to surrender is perhaps every bit necessary. to acknowledge that we are only a small part of the whole cosmology. We are merely dust. I extract this from Gunawan Muhammad's writing and propelled yesterday by our colleague Mustafa's interrogation. In this spirit, I also quote the poet Nabila Said in her introductory remarks for the film yesterday. I quote her saying, "During this time, I've learned how to throw all expectations out of the window, which is to say that I have started to imagine a world in which anything is possible. While we surrender now to this online streaming, something that is a metamorphosis on human relations. Some would also say that this is a democratic platform, and we hope that this streaming platform will be suitable for our worldly and otherworldly counterparts as well, before the once humans return to their own terrains." And we see this idea of being in different terrains explored through the various previous conversations of the symposium already. Whether prompted by voluntary traditions like the Minangkabal's tradition to merantau, the simple need to physically meander, or propelled by curiosity or a festering rebellion, or as a child would, in its innate behavior, venture off from the mothers so that they can learn the world bit by bit and further and further. As we look at the ghost of Hijikata through the next work, agitated further by Choy Ka Fai, the transposition of the human body into the no longer, into metamorphic realms, or afterlife presumptions, it is an interesting one that would be further discussed. And we enter into this multiplicity, living in a few worlds at the same time. With the context of this virtual domain via transmission as a default, because this is a new normal for some worlds, have we thus become avatars from our previous selves? The role of the avatar is to usually serve a purpose, and I shall leave this purpose vague here. Thus, when this body, in its innate sense, jostles with the inherited geography of the body and extends themselves as dialogues with the world in order to complete itself, how can the body do this during this period of reduced mobility? The writer Terence Ward also pointed out in the session yesterday that it is usually the journey that completes the person. Reference in essence of the Sufi poet Rumi, amongst other great poets and prophets. Without further ado, for the next 30 minutes, please stay tuned with us to experience theatre director and artist Choy Ka Fai's work, Wandering with the Ghost, that is produced for this symposium.